I am here today with Jonathan Tyler. Jonathan is a Texas-based singer-songwriter, guitarist, producer, wearer of many hats. You may know him as the frontman of Jonathan Tyler and the Northern Lights, where he was signed to Atlantic Records and gained a strong following, playing Jimmy Kimmel Live, music featured in television programs and networks like HBO, Fox, NBC, ESPN, and so many others. He has opened shows for legendary acts like ZZ Top, the Black Crowes, Lynyrd Skynyrd, AC/DC, and the list goes on and on. Jonathan has just released a new single called Magic Sam's Boogie, and we're going to find out if and when there is more to come, and we're going to find out more about that song. Jonathan Tyler, man, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Magic Sam's Boogie. Cool tune, man. I gotta be written in homage to the Chicago blues legend Magic Sam.
Of course, yeah, it was the story of it kind of came together. There's this guy named Charlie Sexton. He's a guitar player here in Austin. Plays with like Bob Dylan and David Bowie back when that was going on, and a lot of other people. He's kind of like somebody I really look up to here in Austin. And he was, we were basically playing a show together at the Paramount Theater, and he asked me if I'd ever heard of Magic Sam. We were talking about guitar players, and I hadn't heard it before. And he's like, well, you have to check out this video. And he showed me this really cool clip of him playing on this guy, Earl Hooker's guitar. And I was just kind of like blown away by the riff, because as a guitar player, I'm sort of I'm not necessarily a flashy soloer, but I'm really into finger picking in the old style of sort of like the folk blues, where people were using their thumbs and their fingers to do multiple things at once. And so when I heard this Magic Sam riff, I was just kind of floored by it, because it's like, it's got so many things going on, and it just inspired me. And so then I kind of left there and sort of took a lot of those lyrics, or the lyrics that ended up becoming the lyrics, and sort of put together this sort of abstract song, which is it really, it feels like, as like a typical song, it's like kind of more of just like a boogie, and that's why I called it that, because it's not quite a normal structured song, but it's but who writes the rules for that? You can do whatever you want, I think.
Yeah. And it's effective, man. It's really cool. Yeah, I noticed the video. You're in the studio. It's a live video from the studio. Is that where you recorded the song?
It is. I mean, it's I had recorded another version of it, like a studio version of it, which eventually will probably come out at some point. And it's cool. It's very like calculated, a lot more calculated, because it's a studio. Like we were sort of making like studio decisions, which is a lot more like laboratory style. But I for this, it was essentially, I was playing a party at Arlen Studios, which is kind of like a famous Austin studio where Willie Nelson and Gary Clark Jr. and a bunch of people like that have worked out of. And I kind of was like, well, why don't we, while we're in there playing this party, why don't we just set up and record like a live version of some of these songs, and multi-track it and do like that, but also have like a high definition camera operator there. And so we just did it, and it turned out really cool. So I ended up just like showing some people, and they were like, man, this is really special. Maybe more, special than the actual studio version, which we're in a studio, but that was completely live. And you can see it when you watch the video. I mean, it's just, it all happens right there. And so I felt like that had some sort of extra, purpose or meaning to it. When you see it happening right there, and you hear it
completely
right there.
Yeah, and I think it fits that type of tune. It's kind of a jam, loose kind of raw thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really cool to see just that live coming together of musicians just jamming.
I mean, I think so. It's like, cause it's, and I'm a studio rat. So like, I find myself going down the editing and fixing and, making things perfect. And I think that sometimes it's way more effective to just be exactly what it is and just do it and show it and be as real in the moment as you can possibly be.
Yeah, and
So
yeah, that video is in the moment for sure.
it is. Yeah, we did 5 takes of it, and that was the fifth take. And it was like, I remember being like, should we use the third take or should we use the fifth? And
Mhm.
I ended up like, the reason we were kind of between should we use the third and fifth is because at the end of the track, like we didn't really end together. We had this like kind of fall apart ending.
I,
And the band was kind of like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, nobody's gonna care. Like it's a cool, real fall apart ending. And I dig it. So I'm
yeah,
glad that, glad you do. It's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it is cool. It's really cool. Now is I mean, I guess this is the elephant in the room. Is this song part of a bigger set? Do you have a larger, full-length album coming out, or are you going to release singles? How's that going to work for you?
It's been such a weird time because of COVID and stuff. And I feel like we're
Yeah.
finally kind of coming out of it. But essentially what had happened is I had a whole album. And when I was planning to release in 2020, and when that happened, it was like, well, I can't tour on this album now. So I don't want to just not release it, but also don't want to just release it and have it be lost in the 2 year like black hole that we were just in.
Right.
And so I essentially just started releasing like track every few months, every 3 or 4 months. And so I released a good half, the first half of it really. And I still have another half of it to go. And
Nice.
so I don't really have a plan right now. I've just started kind of getting back into things, and it feels like we're kind of back on track. And like I've been out on tour playing gigs and stuff, and it's starting to feel like, okay, we're back in the flow, which means, yeah, I'm going to release the rest of the album and try to compile that and push it out. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, good news, man. Good news. Uh Now, I listened to your more recent music, 2021's Moon and Stars.
Yeah.
Even 15's Holy Smokes record.
Yeah.
It's quite a change from the Gypsy Woman, pardon me, era of Northern Lights and that thing, which was 2010, I believe.
Mhm.
Uh do you feel like your sound has changed, and have you changed as a musician?
I don't really, because like I always sort of chase after my inspiration, and I don't really I've always been pretty much true to that. Like whatever is inspiring me, like that's what I'm putting out and that's what I'm doing. And I'm definitely steeped in blues, and growing up in the South, country music is definitely like kind of just can't really help it. It's seeped in. And so um, I feel like I've always just sort of taken all these different elements and combined them into like a stew and just kind of made it what it was. And it's like a lot of my favorite bands are like, the Faces and the Rolling Stones and the Black Crowes. They kind of did the same thing where it was like just an amalgamation of all these influences,
Hmm.
and it just kind of creates this sort of hybrid thing where a lot of people go, well, it's too rock for country, and it's too country for rock, and it's always been sort of it's been like the sort of issue with where the labels put me, or where the
Right.
where things fall as far as radio and stuff goes. But I feel like these days with the internet, it's kind of just blown that wide open where people can find whatever they like. And I feel like there's definitely an audience that likes the style of music that I do.
Hmm.
And so I'm just like, I'm kind of okay with it. I think there's always a common thread of rock in there, and guitar is always really heavy in what I do, whether it's, even if it's like a folkier thing, it's like if you really digest what's happening, there's always like kind of, intricate guitar stuff that's going on. So that's, I think the people who know me, they kind of see those common threads.
Yeah.
Um, but I realize it can go, what was he smoking that day, or what, I can definitely go out on like a Pink Floyd trip, where it's like the Moon and Stars track is definitely like into that sort of cerebral, like Pink Floyd world, it gets a little trippy, but it's still, at its core is definitely got some blues in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And when I listen to the newer stuff, like I said, it does sound different to me, but it sounds, I don't want to say more mature. That's just not because that makes the other stuff sound like it's not.
It's true. It's true.
But it's a little deeper. Maybe, it's a little deeper lyrically and musically. There's a little more of you in it, I think. A personal part of you.
I would totally agree. I think that we were 23. I was 23 when I made the that Pardon Me record, and it was it was like we're young. We didn't have a ton of experience, and we were really kind of thrust out there into the world like in a big way, which is really cool looking back on it. Like we're pretty lucky, but at the same time, just from being like a musician that like studies it and tries to figure out what people are doing and why things are working, we've certainly like tapped into some more developed and mature things. Like there's a lot of tricks going on in these tracks, even though they like the Magic Sam track is very tricky to learn on guitar. Like that's the kind of thing where it sounds simple, but that thing would take you some time to pick up if you've never tried to like pick that riff up.
Yeah, there's some heavy duty picking and stuff on that thing, man. There's no doubt. You're in Austin. Austin is, for people who aren't aware, a huge music mecca. Kind of Nashville, LA kind of thing, where it's the extreme music lives there. You were in Dallas for a very long time. Moved to Austin 4 or 5 years ago, probably now, right?
Yeah.
Did that change you? Did that change the way you make music? Because it's steeped over there.
It is, man, and it has really affected me a lot. Because when I moved down here to Austin, I moved my friend Ramsey Midwood. He's another blues folk musician who he's been doing this for a while, and he owns this music venue. And he'd taken over this venue, and there's a house on the property. It's very it's very roadhouse style country, all wood, pier and beam style honky tonk bar. And I moved into the backyard. Essentially, I have my own little house back here, and that's where I'm at now. But I can walk across my backyard and walk into this bar, and every night of the week, some of the best players that you could ever witness. I mean, I'm not kidding you. That's the thing about this town. It's kind of like Chicago. Is you can walk into a bar, and there might be 10 people in there, but the people on stage, there's people here that have played with Waylon, Willie, the list goes on, guys that wrote songs for Stevie Ray Vaughan. And it's pretty amazing, because I mean, if you just go have a beer or just go sit down and have a drink, you're gonna witness somebody who's just as good as it gets. And that happens like almost every day. And so I feel like for me, like the biggest thing was kind of just like witnessing the sort of work ethic and the sort of lifestyle of some of these players that play a different residency across town every night, and just kind of seeing the working musicians ethos. Whereas like when I was in Dallas, we signed to, Atlantic and Warner Brothers, and we start immediately touring, and we're playing like big shows and going out with, like you said, Kid Rock, ZZ Top, all these guys. And it was instantly like thrust onto a big stage. Whereas like kind of being here, you're sort of immersed in this sort of working man's musician where, like I said, you're going to go, to Continental Club, Seaboys, Antones, any of these places and see musicians who could hang with pretty much anybody in the world and are the best at their craft. So there's this kind of humility to it in a way where it's like, it's not about the big time. It's about the playing. And I think that sort of ethos of just being able to go from here to there, play anywhere, jump up with these guys, this guy, different bands every night, kind of just swapping members. That kind of it does kind of force you to be like build your craft. You can't really hide behind certain things, it's and so I think I've learned a lot about just that sort of ethos, but also just country music is a really big thing here. And that style of music's just, it's amazing how subtle and intricate like the guitar playing is and just the songwriting. So, that's a whole nother thing that I've really learned a lot about too. So it's been kind of, I would say that Austin has a very, very cool and very unique music culture where I still haven't really seen that anywhere else. I mean, Chicago, New Orleans, I would say those cities are very close where you don't really, you see more local musicians in New Orleans than you do like outsiders. It's like you go to New Orleans and that's the local players. They're like, they don't want to leave. They don't want to tour. They're like, we got enough gigs. We're good.
Yep.
And,
we traveled to New Orleans and I experienced that being on the Chicago scene for so long. It is, very steeped. It's very organic, but it's not New Orleans. New Orleans just blew my mind. There's music everywhere and it's all great. I mean, I was looking around, I'm like, these are top-notch players. Why are they not international players? Like you said, they're happy where they are and they're killing it.
Yeah, because it's just, I mean, there's something about like, not having to jump in the tour bus or in the van, going home at the end of the day, but you're like, playing and making people happy, and you're seeing the benefits of being able to play every night without having to necessarily do all that other stuff. And I can see why people kind of fall into those sort of things. And it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of like, it's almost like an accent, like when you have an accent, it's like a New Orleans musician, they learn a certain style so much that it's like an accent. It's like, you can't fake it. I mean, you can try, but, and I think that's what any great music city or, that's what it does to you. It kind of, you get steeped in that language. And so I think Austin's definitely got it going on, like, and it's been really cool to kind of get in with that and try to just like keep up, and try to, get better, just like keep growing as a player.
That's great. It's great to hear. Your writing process, has it changed since, like, pardon me? I mean, I know you mentioned, you've matured as a musician. You were young.
Yeah.
Do you write the same way? You sit down and
I do, because like the thing about writing to me is that it starts with a spark. It starts with an inspiration, and whether that's a lyric or whether that's a guitar riff, it's like you have this moment of sort of like the light comes down. It's like the Blues Brothers where like, that moment, and you have that inspirational moment. And sometimes that moment can last, 30 minutes and you can write an entire song in that, or sometimes you just have that lyric that's kind of you write down, and then you have to kind of go into the discipline of finishing it and actually spending time, like, editing it, making it better. It's obviously awesome when you just get hit by it and it finishes itself and you're just like, oh, that was awesome. But most of the time it's like I'll catch like a riff or a melody, and then I have to kind of like sit with it and work it until I finish it. And that can be years sometimes. Like, honestly, I've got stuff that's still just like in my brain.
Well, that's a good thing. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's
It is. No, it is. So I feel like, I've definitely learned like more tricks about like how you can transition from this chord to, this chord, and how certain musical compositional type things can fit together. And those things have been, just years of just playing and studying songs and learning like the theory of music and things like that. But at the end of the day, really, truly, it's all about the inspiration to me. I think if you just force yourself to write out of like, I'm going to just do this today, every day I'm going to write. Well, it can kind of start to feel like you're doing that. And I think you can hear that in songs. Like, whereas when you're truly inspired, I think it's coming from like a higher place almost. And so it can connect to people in like in a different way. Which is, that's just my thought on it. But yeah, it's an inspiration plus the discipline for me. So I've kind of always, luckily, like I've always kind of done that. Like I kind of figured that out at a young age. Like, you take that little sliver of inspiration and then you try to use that as a cornerstone, build the whole building off of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now you've done corporate work, of course. Bud Light, Jack Daniels, a bunch of other things. Do you find it difficult to write for those things? Is it artistically satisfying for you?
Yeah, it weirdly is. Like, I remember when I was like early on, when I was young, I was very principled about like not working on anything that was corporate. But I was broke, and I mean, that kind of went hand in hand. And like these days, I don't know, there was like a moment where a friend of mine from Chicago, actually, he called and was like, hey, we're looking for like a rock and roll sound for this Jack Daniels commercial, and we thought you'd be perfect for it. And I was like, well, I love Jack Daniels. Like that's like the most rock and roll whiskey brand of all time, so it was really kind of cool. Actually, it was like let's drink some Jack Daniels and write a riff. So
sounds like fun to me.
I mean, because I this is my little studio right here, and so I kind of I can walk from my kitchen in here and just like have fun. It doesn't have to be high pressure, because I've kind of built out my space to where I can come in here and just sort of have fun with it. And what I felt like was crazy about it, the sort of thing that, people don't really ever think about, is like these guys, they're a creative agency building a thing for Jack Daniels, and they actually valued my creativity. They were like, let us give you this massive platform. This commercial is going to be going on all over the world. Let's give you this massive platform, and we're going to, take care of you for doing it. And it's like, wow, what a concept. It's like music being valued.
Right.
And it's crazy that it was a corporate thing, but it was like, this is a corporate company valuing my creativity. I actually felt really validated by it in a way.
That's cool. And your music's being heard internationally.
I know, man.
Pretty great.
It's crazy. I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, one of my goals as like a young songwriter, and even still, was to have my music heard across the world. Like I've always thought, what if, you write a song that everyone hears, and, hopefully one day it's going to be a song that like, is just becomes a huge song. But then at the same time, it's like, that's what that was. It was a song that I wrote that went out to the whole world. And It's interesting just how that works, and how, you may have one idea of how your goal is going to be reached, and then you come to find out it happens, but it just not exactly how you thought it was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I still do. And anytime those guys call me up, if I've got the time and stuff, I'm like, dude, I'll throw down some music for you this afternoon. Like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty great. And they reward you for it, and they appreciate it. And then, I mean, that's pretty great. You don't always get that with your the normal organic music.
No, it can be really tricky, especially because I'm independent. And at one point I was on labels and things like that, but I just I thought, why not forge ahead in this new era where we can do so much now. Like, it's so much different than it was 10 years ago. Like, the fact that music can just be dispersed worldwide in such an easy way, it has really opened the doors up for being truly independent and being able to kind of be exactly what you want to be without having to, try to be something for somebody else or for a label or, for something like that. It's super liberating, but it is at the same time, like, you're in a sea of other people that are trying to do it. So it can be really daunting at the same time, and very difficult to get your voice heard. But that's kind of why I think that those little moments are just, it's like a blessing,
Yeah.
getting those opportunities. So
Pretty great. Now you do all kinds of producing and sessions for other artists and stuff. Anyone we need to know about? Anybody that you're working with at the moment?
Well, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing here in Austin has been pretty country based, like, and it's just, that's kind of the scene down here. I'm working with this guy, Paul Val. He is one of the best guitar players I've ever heard. I mean, this guy can be playing. He's actually on this track, Magic Sam's Boogie, with me. So if you see the video and you hear the track, he's the other guitar player that's playing on the track. But we're working on his music, and I can't express enough, like, how phenomenal this guy is on the guitar. And I really think that in the next few years that he's going to come out as a forerunner in guitar, just because the guy's ultra talented, and he doesn't even, I watch him on stage and I'm like, you don't even look like you're trying right now. Like, it's like his face is just like, he's just got this crazy ability. So his stuff, I can't wait for people to hear it. I've been working with this guy, Jeremy Pinnell, out of Kentucky, and they're pretty, him and his band are pretty much straight up, they're pretty much straight up country, traditional country, but like, his guitar player is got to be one of the best country pickers, like, out there. I mean, he can turn it on like a faucet. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, it's just like, Junior is his name. It's just like, go. And he's just like, he instantly can just go to town. And it's been phenomenal to watch those guys, because they're the kind of band where you just turn the recording stuff on and they play, and that's it. Like, you don't have to fix anything. You don't have to edit anything. It's just perfect.
That's great.
And his songs are incredible. I've had another couple people, like this girl, Kelly McQuee. She's an Austin local, and she's really big in the Texas music scene, and she's starting to kind of come out. And another guy, Dallas Burrow, great songwriter, more traditional, like Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt style writer. And I feel like we're kind of pushing his stuff into a new territory. And that's kind of it right now. About, those are the most current things. I've always got stuff coming up, and I'm just trying to, like, I just got back from a run, and usually I would be recording today. Like, Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays are my session days where I'll go out and tour, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then I'll come home and I'll record some people, whether it's myself or somebody else. But this week I'm leaving town on Wednesday for a week. So I'm taking today and tomorrow to kind of recuperate from last week with South. I don't want to date this interview, but last week was South by. So we're
Yep.
So it's just been a crazy hectic time.
Yeah, and which is good. I like to hear that.
Oh, dude! I
It
mean,
might be wearing you out, but you're keeping busy, and people are hearing you, and it's pretty great.
Yeah, I'm so appreciative, and I mean, especially after being locked down for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's. I'm just really glad to be back out, and I know
Yeah.
I could see that music's medicine for a lot of people out there, and so it just feels good to be like exchanging that energy between the audiences and the musicians.
Yeah, and you're what you do is always appreciated for sure. And I want to respect your time. I'll leave you with one more. Are you coming to Chicago? Plans to tour?
Man,
2 years without doing it.
I know. I love Chicago, and it's always been one of my favorite cities to play in, and I really want to get back. I don't know. I don't have anything on the books right at the moment, but I know that could change tomorrow. It's like it's one of those cities that I wind up in a couple times a year.
Awesome.
Shuba's, Double Door, Metro. I know some of these places are closed now, but
Shuba's still happening. Metro's still, yeah. So
I mean, I've played so many. I played the Cubby Bear a bunch back in the day. Which is
cool.
fun. I love Chicago. Like Wicker Park is such a fun little area.
Yeah.
And just even the House of Blues there is just an incredible House of Blues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anytime I can get there, I love to be in Chicago.
That's good news. I can't wait to see you. I hope you hit the road soon. Keeping busy. That's great. We're gonna get more music. That's pretty awesome.
It's coming.
Yeah, that's cool. Jonathan Tyler, man. Thank you so much for being here, bud.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's keep in touch. And when you release that music, we'll have you back in. The door's always open, man.
Man, thanks a lot. I appreciate the platform. Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. Take care, bud.
All right. Take care, brother. See ya.
All right. Bye.